Hey,
Level up.
it's Marty and Jeffrey. Hi, Jeffrey. What are you
Level
doing,
up.
brother?
Is my camera on? Oh man.
Your camera's on. No, it's on. It was on. It was on. Now it's off. There you go.
It wasn't supposed to. I was practicing my choreography since we're our guest is hopefully who's going to be here.
We got a lot of technical difficulties tonight, but you know what we don't have? A lack of love. That's what we don't have.
Oh,
Because you know what the Beatles said? All you need is love.
it's funny. They could say that without moving their lips.
What? I'm sorry. What, Jeffrey?
You froze up. You were saying all you need is love. There, you froze again.
All you need is love and a good internet connection.
Oh no, we're not live.
No, you are. You are.
Oh,
The problem is, Jeffrey, is your internet connection. You know what I think is happening? It's the pandemic bugaboo of everybody and their mama is on the internet at the same time. So you're kind of freezing up a little bit. I happen to have a good internet connection in here.
No, you're freezing up.
Oh, is that what it is?
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
I'm freezing up.
Well,
so those of you who have made it
who's completely frozen out. He can't even get in tonight.
Oh, well, why don't you talk with him, work that out?
I'm trying. I'll tell you what. I will 86 myself out. You keep talking. Tell the audience what you want them to know. Can I ask you
my own voice? I'll just talk.
I just want to ask you real quick. Everybody, by the way, if you don't know, you're watching the Actors Initiative, and this is the initiative taker right here, Mr. Jeffrey Weissman, who has been really busy the last month or so, haven't you?
It's smoke and mirrors.
Okay.
Well, all right, now we're live.
Super busy.
I got notice that we're live. Do we have the intro? Was the intro live?
Yeah, everything happened. It already happened. Yeah.
Oh, it did. Now, but I just got the flash that we're now live. But in case you missed it,
we are.
I was dancing like this because we've got a great show tonight with a fantastic choreographer who's trying to figure out how to get on StreamYard with us right now. But if you're new to the Actors Initiative,
it's gremlins.
The show was initiated by you and Charlie Holiday, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
The immortal and legendary Charlie Holiday.
The great.
And the intro wasn't live. You want to play it again?
No, it played. You're the only one that didn't see it.
Okay, well, Martin in the control booth is telling me it wasn't live, but nonetheless,
it played.
I am just so honored that I was asked to step into Charlie Holiday's big shoes.
As are we.
And keep the torch fired up for the actors in the Sacramento area and, of course, the Bay Area and wherever you may be watching this in the world.
Yeah.
And we've had a number of really fantastic talents come and share their stories and their tips for actors. We've had, you might remember Kirk Baltz, who's not only an actor and writer, but my God, he's one of the best acting coaches. And for me, as an acting coach, to say this, he's one of the best acting coaches extant. He has over 70 credits. He was in Reservoir Dogs, of course, got his ear cut off in that. Dances with Wolves.
By the way,
Born Killers.
Can I I want to interrupt you right there because it was so fascinating for me to hear Kirk Baltz come on and tell his version of that story because I've already heard Michael Madsen tell the story. Michael Madsen was a guest of the film festival, and he came on and he told the story, and he told about how Tarantino was notoriously, he didn't want anyone ad-libbing. And he ad-libbed the, wakey, wakey, achy, bakey. And then, and then Kirk Baltz comes on and kind of corroborates, but tells his version. That was so meta. It was like you were in the, it was watching, but you were in it at the same time. Kirk Baltz was just amazing.
He said he has his little Madsen adventure in the trunk of the car was still traumatic, it seemed, for him. Then we had Paul Whitten on more recently, who's a regular on the morning show and has his own show that he created, Dropping the Soap. That was fantastic. Really learned a lot about comedy writing and his career trajectory. As well, we had local director, cinematographer Mark Herzig on, who
now, you know what? I didn't catch that one. I don't even think I caught the replay on that one. How did that?
Oh no, you're a loser.
I'm telling you, I lost big time on that deal.
Oh, Mark was great. He's a raconteur, had fantastic stories of being on incredible sets. He's worked on, oh boy, over 30 different films and TV shows.
He's probably done 30 films in our film festival where he has a credit, and I didn't realize it until I watched the credit. I'm like, oh, I know that guy.
And we have one that I did called Nuts and Bolts, about the business of acting and what you really need to do to sink your teeth into this career. And I believe that's still archived on the California Film Foundation.
As a matter of fact, that was the first one that you did, and we replayed it because you were so busy. I think it was last month. We redid that one, and yes, it is absolutely still archived. And I would encourage anybody to go, because here's the deal, folks. And I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. But Jeffrey is a pro teacher, not just a professional actor, but he teaches as well. And sometimes when you're lucky, he'll give you some of those nuggets. And that was certainly one of those cases. And I'm always telling him, hey, don't give all that stuff away. That's the stuff that you really need to be training people in a workshop type
I
scenario.
prefer that everyone get the nuts and bolts that they need, whether they can afford to be in my class or not. Come to the class to get advances on that basic stuff that I give, and then also get the nitty gritty down to the meat of emotional work, in class scene work, character building, so on and so forth. I want to say hi to Shelly and Doug and Ramona. Welcome everyone who are here. We are awaiting our guest, the lovely Christopher Childers, who.
Wait a minute. Hang on a minute. Hey, Chris, how's it going over there?
Good. I'm trying to. I think I have to be on my phone now. Wait a minute.
You know what? You can do it on your phone. We'll take that.
You can do it on
Wait a minute. I think I see you. It says device is not connected, but I'll tell you what. If you can turn your video on, we'll put you on here, even on your phone. All right. We're working on it, Jeffrey. We're working hard.
I love that.
While we're waiting on Chris, can I ask you one question? I've been dying to know. What has been the last month and a half? I know you've been working. You did the, I think you did the Twain, a little version of your Mark Twain thing, right?
Yeah, when the pandemic hit, like so many others out there, especially in our industry, I was like, how am I going to remain relevant? How am I going to do my craft? What the
bleep are you going to do? Right. Yeah.
And so I went through a number of different things. I went back to some of my alma mater, my high school buddies, Lee Ehrenberg from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies and so many other great shows. Ron Campbell, who is huge with Cirque du Soleil and the comedy world around the Bay Area, and Matt Walker, who's been producing these great shows for the Getty. And we were talking, what are we going to do? So the four of us decided, well, let's do a pandemic version of Waiting for Godot. So we actually put it together. We Zoomed it, and unfortunately my old laptop wasn't up to par with the other fellows, so I was a little technically behind the times, but I wrote a pandemic version of Lucky's speech, which if you know Godot, that's a 7-page, 10-page long monologue. And I just did a pandemic version of it, and we shot it, we put it together, and then Matt got a virtual gig for the Getty doing the Odyssey by Homer. So he was our main tech guy. So that kind of stalled. And then I started working with the Show Must Go Online, which is a group that were kind of ready for the pandemic. They didn't expect the pandemic, but they were ready to Zoom shows. And they decided they would do Shakespeare's canon and other shows. They did a version of Star Wars, Mean Girls, and Back to the Future as if Shakespeare had written them. And when I heard they were doing Back to the Future, I wrote them. I wrote the Ian Drescher, who wrote that, and I said, "Is it casting?" And so I got a hold of them. When they realized who I was, since I played George McFly in Back to the Future 2 and 3, they said, "What role would you like?" And I said, "How about Doc Brown?" So I actually played Doc Brown here in my living room during the pandemic. Seriously, my wife was my costumer.
That's amazing.
My moving the text for me, and I did the slide from the clock tower here in my living room. Anyways, played Doc Brown a la Shakespeare, and then I played Sir Toby Belch in their version of Twelfth Night. Now they have done not only all of Shakespeare's canon, then they just recently this year during pandemic did Christopher Marlowe's canon.
All right.
And these people use actors from around the world. So you have people in Australia, and you have people in the Caribbean, and you have me on the West Coast, and folk around the world who are up at all hours, God knows, to rehearse. We have a fight choreographer we're working with from South America. It's just a remarkable production. So you can find it. It's all free on YouTube. Wow. The Show Must Go Online, TSMGO.
The Show Must Go Online. And if you get in there, you'll see the whole panoply.
And several of their shows are unconventional casting in that they'll use, example, for the Macbeth, it was all female and non-binary. And it brought new levels of meaning to the text. It was remarkable. And they use a lot of diversity in the casting. They're top-notch. You're working with often highly trained folk from the Royal Shakespeare Company or the National Company in England, or here in the States, really well-trained folk. And then there's a few laymen thrown in just who are there, gotten into the mix, and because of their love of Shakespeare. So then after getting through that, I started working with the Actors Gang, had an offshoot, Tim Robbins and Ron Campbell and Lee Ehrenberg, Billy Zane, a number of fine actors out of UCLA started the Actors Gang in the early 80s, which became a very cutting edge and very highly reputable acting troupe in LA, in Hollywood. And they started an offshoot for the creatives needing to flex the creative muscle. Sure. The Cabinet of Oddities. The Cabinet of Oddities was like a salon via Zoom. And hey, our guest is here. Hey. I don't need to buy more time. We won't even get to my Twain.
No, I was going to bring him in. Martin, I got this, buddy. Don't worry about it. Martin, chill out, because I was going to actually say to you, hey, our guest is here, but Martin brought him in. So wait a minute. Hang on one second. Chris, let's do this again. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to mention our guest is here.
Oh, fuck that. I haven't got your project yet.
Listen, I'll tell you what. Finish that thought, because I was really wrapped in that thought. Finish that thought for me.
What I decided was that since I could play Twain, I could develop. I got a little grant money to develop Mark Twain's American History, a series that's educational and entertaining. And I shot the proof of concept here in my home. And I'm now going to be an artist in residence at Elmira.
I see you do Twain, man. And folks at home, nobody, if you've ever thought you might even want to check out the works of Mark Twain as acted out, you could do yourself no greater favor than to watch Jeffrey do it.
Well, there's a PBS movie that I did over 10 years ago called Dreamland, Mark Twain in Jerusalem. That's on, I believe it's streaming on the PBS channel and elsewhere. And but I was so rushed into playing that Twain at that juncture, I did not know a fraction of what I know now. I have a bibliography of over 36 books and that I'm drawing from, and 12 episodes that I'm writing, currently putting the polishing on the pilot. I shot the proof of concept. Maybe I'll play an excerpt from that sometime.
And where can we see it, other than if we can twist your arm in here?
I can show you it in here.
Okay.
Let's do it in next month or something.
We'll do it
because our guest is here.
Well, our guest is here. Okay, so here we go. Ready? Let's do this. Let's do this properly.
He has
special guest. Tell me about this gentleman.
This gentleman is a remarkable. How shall I say? He's an entrepreneur in that he's developed and written projects, and he's produced films. He's appeared as a dancer since he was a child. He was in films like Showgirls and Robin Hood Men in Tights, which I auditioned for too for Mel. That's a story we'll hopefully share with Christopher. And more recently, I was called upon to work with him in a brilliant piece that came out of a dance workshop he created called the Carnival of Wonders, which is winning many awards at film festivals around the world.
Is that the music video? We have that. It's about a 5-minute piece.
Well, we're going to show a bit of it because it's a very long film.
It's the same piece I'm thinking of. I have about a 4 or 5 minute clip that I believe is Carnival of Wonders.
Yes, I sent you the link and said cue it up to 9:14. That's where you want to start.
I'm not sure that all happened tonight, being what it is, but we have something.
We'll show something, but let's get him on here, Christopher.
You know what? Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen,
the show.
Christopher Childers.
Level up.
Hi, you guys.
Holy!
Thanks for having me. Sorry for all that.
I'm so excited. He's not even on anymore. Look at that. Look what happened. Gee,
I came on. He went off.
Well, I'll tell you what. While we're trying to get Jeffrey back on, it's hard to get 3 balls in the air there. Wait a minute. Don't make jokes. Okay? No jokes. No jokes, Chris. Chris, by the way, I got to tell you, you're a Half Moon Bay guy? How did you end up in Half Moon Bay?
I am. I was raised in the Bay Area in Foster City, and my mom took us to Half Moon Bay because she loved the ocean and the beach and the mountains and all of it. So I was spent most of my weekends in the car coming to Half Moon Bay, and I just loved it as a kid. So it was always in the back of my mind, and I just always knew someday I'd get back to the Bay Area and the coast.
As I'm sitting here right now, I'm in Pacifica, and I run a TV station here on the coast side. We will talk, but for now, I'm going to let you two talk. A and B, I'm going to see my way out of it. I'm glad we got your. I'm glad we got you worked out there. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Wait a minute. What just happened? Oh, okay.
Jeffrey's just gone. Hi there.
His nerves are shot already.
Oh, I'm sorry about the problem. I had the laptop and it wasn't working, and Chrome wouldn't load. I don't know why, the whole thing. But I'm on my phone now, so
you're here.
I'm here.
You're looking good, Chris. It's really great to have you here because we've had directors, actors, writers here at the Film Foundation and the Actors Initiative here, and I don't think we've had a choreographer.
Wow, that's flattering. I feel amazingly honored to be the first choreographer, I guess you could say, right?
Well, but you're also sort of a triple threat because you're a producer and a writer as well. And I mentioned for the folk, I first worked with was a David Lawrence's school chum of yours.
Yes, of course. John Lawrence. We met at a science fiction convention when we were kids. We've been friends through social media all these years, and I've seen his work and he's seen my work, and we kept saying we've got to work together at some point, and we got to collaborate. A
number of years ago, I worked with Jonathan Lawrence on a short film called The Traveler, and I use a scene from The Traveler as an example of trusting the director, because we were running out of light. We were shooting on the top of a roof downtown LA, and I needed to hit 9 different marks and keep the lines coming while beating up the other actor. And he said to me, he said, just trust me. I know what I'm doing. You've got to do this. And it made no logical sense how, in my mind, how is he going to do this? I was playing a villain who could time travel. And the final edit, the final special effects version is the most wonderful thing, where I appear here, keeping the lines coming and beating up the other guy. And it's fantastic. It's really a great example that I use for all my students about trusting a great director with the special effect that they're trying to come up with, or the subtext, or whatever they're trying to come up with. So because of my work with Jonathan Lawrence on The Traveler, he recommended me to Christopher here for Christopher's project, the Carnival of Wonders, which was originally a workshop, I believe. It came out of a workshop that you led.
That's correct. It was kind of, yeah, we started this rehearsal process, and I had these, different ages of women and different body types. And, they had been coming to me kind of behind the scenes telling me how much they love movement and dance, and that I was, you know, making such an impact in their lives, which I thought was silly. I couldn't understand why. I was like, yeah, it's just class. And they were like, well, no, one had had cancer and had a mastectomy. Another one had had a very intense loss in her family. You know, there were these stories coming at me that kind of surprised me. And I just couldn't believe that I was in the same room with these amazing ladies with these stories. So I decided to kind of make that the theme of this, you know, the sort of warrior strength of women and how just amazing they are. So we kind of put this show together, and it was kind of based on these stories of these women, their real life stories, you know, and sad and tragic. And one was about her relationship with her mother, and it was very volatile. And, you know, I just kind of put that out there. And when it happened, I think it really resonated. So it was like a really cool first project for me here in Half Moon Bay. I don't know if people were ready for it. I think it was really cool.
What I often recommend to actors who are looking to break in the business is to develop their own project, to tell their own story or find a story that they can play a role in, and then shoot it, because shooting is not so hard these days with the advent of technology.
Right.
And you have in this workshop these wonderful stories that easily tell themselves, especially when there's trauma associated with them. And they just, you know, come out, they bubble out. People are compelled, in fact, to tell those stories for others to, you know, be enlightened or get compassion or what have you. So then after you did the workshop production of it on stage or in your dance studio, how did the film then germinate?
Well, we had Jonathan and I had been, you know, writing. We want to work together at some point, and I had done this project, the show, and it resonated really well. We actually added. We only had 2 days of shows, and they asked for us to do a third one. We were sold out all 3, which was amazing. And somebody had videotaped that show, so John came up for a visit, and we were talking about, you know, we want to just, it started as maybe him wanting to shoot one dance piece that I would choreograph. And I put in the DVD of this show, and he said, oh my God, we have to do this as a story. So in watching and I hadn't really thought about it. And I thought, oh my God, he's right. Like the visuals could be really great. And he was like feeding me all of this stuff. Of course, we're both sci-fi nuts. And, you know, all of the effects of like, you know, our youth. And like, I just started thinking out of the theater box and into the film, you know, genre. And he was just right there to support it. So it kind of just, I don't know, it just built on itself. And we had this idea, and we decided we wanted to shoot it.
And how many awards are you up to now with it?
Oh God, I think you asked me that before when I last saw you, and I should know. I want to say probably 19, close to 20, I think.
Fantastic.
Thanks. It was great. It wasn't, you know, Jonathan was the one who said, you know, you should really put this out into the film festival sort of circuit, which I knew nothing about. And I just kept getting these amazing responses, and I thought, gosh, this is so lovely. You know, people are resonating and feeling it. And it was really, it was an amazing experience. I feel very lucky that we did. And we did well at the 20, of course it was 2020 during pandemic, and everybody would say, we love your film, you're a winner. However, we can't do a red carpet in person. It was all virtual. So that was my first year of experiencing the red carpet. It was all virtual, but I'm still grateful. It was great.
So you started dancing when you were a child?
I did. So my mother was a dancer. She danced during World War II. She was in the USO, entertaining the troops overseas, where she met my father, who was in the Air Force, and they had 5 kids. I was the last of 5. And she taught dance her whole life, and I was raised in the dance studio. I remember I had tap shoes on my feet when I could walk. I always was, you know, she was a tap dance teacher. That was her thing. Eleanor Powell was her idol. And yeah, so I was tapping at 3 years old, and I think I was in ballet at 6 and jazz at 10 or 11, something like that. So pretty much my whole life. Yeah.
Cool. Just real briefly, a slide came up. It looked like Michael Jackson was dancing.
Yes. Oh gosh, that was one of the highlights of my career. I've had a few. That was an unbelievable experience. Oh my gosh, there we are. Yeah, he was quite, you think of people like that and stars and celebrities and they don't burn that brightly anymore. And this was like an icon of, otherworldly status. And I got to dance with him. It was quite extraordinary. He was an amazing artist.
I was in acting class with Michael.
Oh, amazing. What was that like?
Oh, it was great. Jackie Benton was our acting coach. She was the on-set coach on Little House on the Prairie, and she studied with some associates of Meisner and Charles Conrad. And she had this wonderful place in the middle of Hollywood at Crossroads of the World. And the Jacksons had been given by CBS a replacement series for the summer of '77. And while I was studying with her, all of a sudden one morning, Reedy and LaToya and Jeanette, she was only 12 and she wanted everyone to say Jeanette instead of Janet, Michael, Tito, Randy, I mean, they all showed up. And a couple of them, a couple of the older brothers didn't stick with it for very long, but they stuck. I was in class with them for that whole summer. And often, because Michael and I were the same age, we would do scenes together. We'd be in improvs together, and he was so gentle and so soft-spoken. My coach said, "We want to get Michael out of his shell," and so she would set up these very heavy conflict scenes for us to do. I just came out of the bedroom with Michael's girlfriend, and and I'd say, "Well, what are you going to do about it?" She's like, "Nee," right? And he was just, "That's so uncool." Anyway, he was a sweetheart.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, amazing.
So did your mom help you get advance in your training, or did she teach you the dance?
She did. So she taught me for a lot of years. When I got to be sort of I want to say 9, 10, 11, I'll just put this flatly out to you. I was kind of a talk back to the teacher nightmare, and she wasn't having it. So she sent me to a very strict ballet school because I was a little cocky kid. I was good at everything. My mom was the teacher, and I think I had a lot of attitude back then. And her solution was to send me to ballet school, and it absolutely kicked my ass. It was a very strict ballet school here called Peninsula Ballet, all Russian trained. In fact, the teacher used to hit us on the ass with a stick, which, nowadays would be an absolute no-no. But she would, it was very, very intense. And it kind of sort of changed my attitude so that by the time I came back to my family dance studio, my mother was happy because I had become a little bit more humble and respectful, I guess you could say.
You had been disciplined.
Yes, exactly.
I used to, on a personal note, I used to date ballerinas, and I'd go to Joey Harris in Santa Monica or other classes to pick them up or even sometimes watch. And when I saw him break a stick on a ballerina, and one time he broke a record on a ballerina, I was furious. I was going to kill the guy. I couldn't.
Well,
it seemed like that was, that was the old school. That was how you were going to keep that, that position strong and your shoulders back and down and everything. Anyway,
it's all of that. Sorry, I'm laughing. Everything's funny to me now, looking back.
The draconian days.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Oh my God.
Where's the torture of the old days?
Right. Oh my God.
And then you worked with Madonna here.
I did. So that was an amazing part of my life. She, that was her girly show world tour. So she had just released the sex book. So if you remember the sex book at the time, it was like, people were divisive. Some thought it was amazing. People were like, she's, going to hell. This is horrible. I think the price was like $75 at the time. It was like $92. People were just outraged. And so this tour was born from that period, her erotica album and the sex book. So, I had auditioned. I was working on a film, North, which didn't do that well. It was Rob Reiner was the director. And during that shoot, it was on the same soundstage, and I auditioned for The Girly Show. It wasn't called The Girly Show at the audition. It was just Madonna, audition for Madonna. And during North, it was like the last part of our shooting. I found out I got the tour, and it was called The Girly Show, and it was going to be the erotica album. It was kind of a big deal for her at that time, because going out on tour with that, after the book and this album, it was very volatile, and we had protesters in different countries. Certain countries wouldn't have us in there. It was fascinating to be a part of that part of her life and also be in that show, because it was a beautiful, amazing, brilliant show. And it was very intense, all of it.
Who choreographed that?
My God, that's the finale. That's one of the, what was that? Everybody. So that was one of the 2 encore numbers we did. This was the second one, I think.
And who choreographed that show? Were you?
We had but I did actually, it's funny when you work in that kind of collaborative sort of environment. So we had a choreographer that was Keith Young, who started, and then he kind of went away, and Amy Tinkham came in, and she was his assistant. And then Jeffrey Hornaday kind of came in. Alex Magno was there too. So there were sort of 4 choreographers. And they also asked a lot of us to kind of, help figure out choreography and things like that. So there is a lot of my choreography in the Justify My Love finale, the 60s piece. It was
Nice.
kind of Fosse-esque, which is also in our film. That little Fosse-esque, I've always had a love for his movement and style. So I did some of that choreography, and it was really fantastic, that finale.
You've worked with a lot of choreographers. I know we have mutual friends, Patty Colombo and Cheryl Ratliff. And when did you start choreographing yourself?
Well, it's funny, I've always sort of, because of my mother being a teacher and being in the dance studio world, I've always been teaching class. And when you teach class, you always have to come up with choreography and movement for your students. And even when I was a very young boy, I always just loved that idea of sort of being in the front and leading and figuring out, movement that felt good on my body and seeing it reflected in my students. So, I think my key age was like 16. I was in Vegas. I was working at the Folie Bergère, and I did a show at one of the nightclubs there. And I choreographed the whole show, and I was 16. And I just remember,
wow.
Yeah, it was really, it was a big deal. Like, every number and all the costumes and the theme and all of it. And it went over really, really well. And,
but you weren't even old enough to go to the show.
Say that again.
You weren't even old enough to get into the show, though.
I know I wasn't. Or the bar. We had fake IDs back then. Can I say that? I had a friend that would cut out the last digit in your birth year and stick a different one in there. It looked really fake to me, but they'd let us in.
So there was a slide just a moment ago. It looked like you were a flying bird or something. What was that from that Folly show?
No, actually, that's from Cirque du Soleil. So that was,
nice.
Which is kind of interesting. I joined Cirque du Soleil kind of toward, I don't want to say the end of my career, but I knew, I was 32 at the time. I had done so much stuff and film and TV and touring. And I thought, oh my God, 10 shows a week. Am I going to be able to really hang with this crew? And, Cirque shows, they're all superstars.
Yeah.
And I got the principal role, which is that picture of the Redbird in Mystere in Las Vegas.
Oh, wow.
And that was right when my back was literally, the bulge was just starting to happen. I did the show for 2 years and I had a really severe disc bulge. So I went from performer, but they offered me a coaching position. So I stayed and became choreographer and coach for Mystere and O in Las Vegas, which was amazing.
For O, because I have a friend who's been in Mystere for a long time. Mr. Owens is the big baby.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the world's getting smaller.
I know. It's the best, though.
We're showing a slide of you just burning into the camera there.
When my hair was a little longer than now. Yeah, no, it was great at that time because, I had so wanted to go behind the scenes in Cirque. Even when I got the job, I remember I had seen my first Cirque show in the tent here in the Bay Area. And I thought, God, you know, in my mind, it was all acrobatics. So I'm not an acrobat. I'm a dancer who can do a few gymnastic tricks. And I thought, God, there's, you know, I'll never work for this company, but it would be fantastic to create or be behind the scenes. So when I got the role, it was amazing. But I also sort of had that in the back of my mind of like, wouldn't it be great to, you know, like work my way into the scenes. And I did when they offered me this other job. And that kind of opened my eyes into the realm of, you know, the way they work and which is very improvisational and very, you know, relying on others to bring the energy together, like a collaboration, which was great.
Ensemble. Was it there at Cirque that the folk in, is it China, for the, what's the Spanish, I'm trying to think of the name of the show that you choreograph. You've been choreographing for a number of years over in
Guam.
In Guam, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I had, that's funny. It was right about that same time when I was with Cirque, and the Guam, I assisted they had a big production show that was a sort of a Folies Bergère-esque show. It had showgirls and dancers, and I assisted the director choreographer Jerry Jackson for quite a few years. And the owner of that company had approached me and said, if you ever want to do the show in the future, you know, we'd love to use you. And so sure enough, that happened. And I opened the show there in, I think 2001. And then it just kept going, and he kept bringing me back, and I worked all the way through 2016 to the last edition. So nice. Yeah, that was amazing. It was a great opportunity. Guam is very in the middle of nowhere. It's beautiful. It takes forever to get there, but it was great.
I some experience doing that. I directed 3 shows in Osaka.
Oh, of course.
For a Universal theme park there. And being away from home that long is hard. But then again, when you're a part of such a creative endeavor that's going to keep giving, that's really fulfilling, especially for, you know, creative soul like you.
That's it. Yeah.
So tell me, I want to go back a little bit before Madonna. I think one of your credits on there, because I auditioned for Mel Brooks on Robin Hood Men in Tights with my Marx Brothers team. Did you get to audition and spend any quality time with Mel?
What? Yes, I did. So I was one of the Merryman dancers in the, it was Cindy Picker, who's now Cindy Picker Montoya, who was the choreographer. That was one of those jobs where I literally was at home sitting on my ass. I got a phone call. She said, I want you to be in this film. Do you want to do it? And I said, yes. I know. Those don't happen a lot. This was one of those. It was a one-day shoot. We came in. My memory of that whole entire time on the set was I couldn't believe that we got this dance shot, because Mel Brooks was the complete cut up the entire time, making the entire crew laugh, the cast laugh the entire time, like nobody could do their jobs. He was just hysterical and funny and kind. And it was like that, you know, working with a legend. I couldn't believe it. And we're like trudging along, trying to get this dance shoot while he's just making people were crying, laughing so hard. He's insane. It was amazing. It was great. And it was a one-day shoot. It was very like fast, in and out. And it's one of the greatest experiences of my career. I love that one day in my life. It was epic.
He likes to say that he's the funniest man he knows. Yeah, I've been very fortunate to meet Mel a few times. I was pretty close friends with Dom DeLuise, and Dom was best friends with his wife, Anne Bancroft.
Oh, gosh. Amazing.
So every time I'd run into them at the silent movie house, you know, Dom would say, Jeffrey, what are you doing here? Here's Mel, here's Anne, you know. And I said, well, Mr. Brooks, we've met before. I have my Marx Brothers team audition for Robin Hood Men in Tights. And he said, oh, yes, I remember. I liked you guys. I wanted you for the banquet scene, so we would have worked together. He said, but the actor playing Don Corleone wanted too much money, so I had to cut. And that's when I realized it was Dom DeLuise who played that role. So I just started choking Dom. You know? Anyway,
That's
so then you also worked, because I played Screech's guru on Saved by the Bell, the high geek.
I know where you're going with this one.
Yeah, you worked with Elizabeth on Showgirls.
Yeah, I have to say, of all the jobs I've done, that was, because it was such a colossal, big, giant, glossy, huge, glittery thing that flopped. It was so great to be a part of a film like that. It just was so horrible and like close up and awful. And we made a ton of money. We had such a great time shooting it. Yeah, Elizabeth and Gina Gershon was hysterical and fun. We shot, I think for like 6 or 8 weeks up in Lake Tahoe, which was a blast. We were up there. Kyle MacLachlan was dating gorgeous supermodel, what was her name? Linda Evangelista, who came to the set and was sitting there in her coat and like watching us shoot. The whole thing, it was just nuts. And of course the content and script, which we could, that could be a whole sideshow, was just so awful and crazy.
But it does have a cult following now.
Say again, what?
It has a cult following.
It does, and it's fun to be a part of that, because there's just so many details and side stories, and I mean we could talk about that forever. I really have a lot. I just did a friend of mine does a podcast called Showgirls Life, and we talked about that film. It's supposed to come out in November. And it's a little, I was like, can I just be frank? Because, it was very NC-17 and all the rating stuff and all the nudity and all that. So it was kind of an interesting interview. But that job was amazing and crazy and nutty.
There's a question from Rick in the chat wondering if you've seen the preview of Spielberg's version of West Side Story.
I have. It looks absolutely magical. I'm excited. I know there was a lot of sort of talk about it because I did work for Jerome Robbins in New York, in Jerome Robbins Broadway, and some of his faithful loyalists and people were very not sure about it, but I really think it's going to be beautiful.
Well, it appears to me that they've kept a lot of Jerome Robbins choreography.
Yes.
And Rita Moreno's in there too, which is lovely.
Yeah, I think at the beginning they weren't going to sort of acknowledge Jerome Robbins. I don't know. There was a lot of talk about what it was going to be, but yes, now
his names are in
the right direction. And,
in the credits, yeah.
Yeah.
And let's see. Wondering, referring to a question that was made in the chat earlier on, have you also done any stunt choreography?
Yes, I have. I worked on Spiderman, the film, which was, I've had quite a few jobs that are kind of like offshoots of other jobs where I think, holy shit, how did I get here? And that was one of them where I was at Cirque du Soleil. I just retired from performing. I became the dance and choreography coach for Owen Mystier. Sam Raimi and Ian Bryce, the producer of the first Spider-Man film, approached Cirque officially to say, we want you guys to create the movement of Spider-Man. What does it look like? And Cirque at the time was like, we don't do that. They were just, there's the picture. But the publicist, literally, we were at the table. I was at that meeting with Ian Bryce, the producer. Sam Raimi wasn't there. But they had said to him, well, this is our movement and choreography coach. Maybe he can work with you on the film. And inside, I'm just like, holy shit. Oh, my God. So sure enough, I went to LA. I was living in Vegas. I went to LA and sort of did some pre-screening tests and kind of hung in a harness and did my little, this and this. And Sam Raimi came in and he was just like, I love the way you move. And I worked on that for 2.5 years.
Yahoo!
I know. No, that was not planned or anything. And thank God the publicist was so sweet to kind of throw me that bone. And so I ended up doing a lot of the movement and choreography for that. When they brought the stunt team in, they released me. And then Sam Raimi said, I want you to come back and coach the stunt team because they weren't as smooth as I was. Which is,
That's great. Thank you, Sam.
It's very flattering. I'm super weird, flexible joints with all that. And I was really I was so over, and I was so happy to be doing it. So I think he just was like, why can't these guys do it? So I I got to come back and coach them.
Outstanding. Well, you've worked on some fantastic projects, and one of my favorite projects is the one I did with you.
Oh, are you kidding? The best ever.
To give a little background on this, we mentioned earlier the script idea came from the workshop you did with women turning into movement their stories of near death or overcoming traumas, what have you. And the Carnival of Wonders is a story of a young girl who is perhaps going to commit suicide, but decides not to yet at the last minute. The ground underneath her breaks away, and it looks like she's falling to her demise. But she ends up in the middle underworld, kind of the purgatory, it seems. And you had all this wonderful footage, these dances and story, but Jonathan and you decided you needed something to kind of string it all together. And that's when Jonathan came to me and asked if I would consider playing the embodiment of a compassionate death.
And what a gift that was. Are you kidding? Like, I couldn't believe it because, of course, you and I, you know, I'm in Half Moon Bay. You're up in Mill Valley area. And he
north,
had
yeah.
said, you know, I'm going to give him a call and maybe he'll do this. I'm not sure. And I was like, really? Do you think so? And he said yes. And of course, as you know, we had very little budget. The
collaboration is what I'm really wanting to drive home, is that Jonathan and I worked for several weeks trying to come up with the concept and the lines that might work. And really everything that I came up with, I did a lot of research and all, and most of the dialogue and different poetic things that I came up with were thrown out the window. It was thrown out the window, but we still collaborated. He got up here. We shot all night in my barn. My wife's lady layer became the carnival interior for Death of his sideshow, carnival wagon. And we came up with the lines. He was writing on the fly. We came up with the deco from what we had here on the farm, and we got it. We shot all night. It was a bleary 5 o'clock in the morning when we finally wrapped. And it really kind of just came out beautifully, and with a little bit of the footage shot up at Georgetown. So, Martin, are we able to show any of that?
I don't think so. We have a video, but I don't think it's that video. I really don't. We have
I sent you a link.
It looks like a music video.
I sent you a Vimeo link and said,
yeah,
start.
We've been having our technical difficulties. For some reason, it wouldn't translate to where we could. Yeah, I know. But I do have. I don't want this moment to go without showing. Can we show it? And by the way, we could probably fix it in post, so maybe I could just later and then show it on a replay. But for now, I do have about a 3 or 4 minute piece. It's got the Sky King emblem on the front of it. I think it's about a 4-minute music video. That's the same piece, is it?
That sounds like the trailer.
Perhaps. I'll tell you what. Let me roll it, and you guys tell me if it's the right piece or if.
I don't know if Jeffrey's actually in the trailer, but I think that is one of the trailers.
Does that look familiar to you, Christopher?
I think that's the actual whole film.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
So you're in this film, Jeffrey. This is the one we're talking about.
Yeah.
There's Jeffrey Weissman's credit right there. He was just magic. If it wasn't for him, we would not have had that carnival, Kwame, like Angel of Death character that really weaves it all together. That just would not have happened without you, Jeffrey.
So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can't find. You said it was about 29 minutes in, Jeffrey. Is that right?
At 9:14.
9:14. I'm gonna jump out of here and see if I can't get to your part. But I got to tell you, and we were scrubbing through it earlier today. Gorgeous.
Thank you.
Gorgeous. I run film festivals. That's part of what I do. And I'm telling you, if we see something like that immediately, I mean, everything top to bottom, sound, the orchestration of the visuals, just absolutely amazing. Let me run out of here and see if I can find the right clip or the right spot in the clip, and I'll let you guys.
Thank you so much.
Seeing in the chat, Vinny Langdon says, maybe your next film together could be based on the ballet instructor story you mentioned earlier, and Jeffrey playing the role of the instructor.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God, that's it. Are you kidding?
Your resume is too low.
It'd be brilliant. Oh my God.
Oh yes. Oh, it's very. I've done a few films locally in the Sacramento area. One called Marvin's Business Trip, and the other one called the Savior of None. And in stretching myself, example in Savior of None, Marvin's Business Trip, he murders his wife. In Savior of None, I'm playing an epileptic, depressed widower who becomes an avenging angel for an abused adolescent who's being molested and so on and so forth in the foster care system. And for me to become a killer, and if I played the ballet instructor, the draconian ballet instructor, it's great because I get that out of my system. I'm not that way generally, but sure, why not on film?
Or at all. You're an incredibly kind, beautiful man. Of course you are. No, but you're so talented. You could tackle any of those. Are you kidding? God, amazing.
Well, thank you, Vinny. We'll give you credit if we make that movie. So hopefully what Martin is queuing up is this fan dance, which I think is the highlight of the film.
Thank you.
So just
actually, I'm not too proud of my queuing up skills tonight, guys. But the music is gorgeous. Who did that music?
We had quite a few different composers of music. The main composer was Michael Brennan and Anne-Marie Milazzo. She's done a lot on Broadway, as has Michael for Cirque du Soleil. So,
all right. Well, I'm going to try to see if I can get it in here for you.
Is the fast forward button.
All right, there it is. I think I got it. Let me see if I can bring it in.
That full moon, that harvest moon.
Is lit.
That's right.
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
It's not worth it.
In the wondrous carnival of life, too much pain, too long, ruins the show. The soul must go. Someone closes the curtain too soon. Darkens their life before it even has a chance to shine.
1,000 years, 1,000 lives, eternity is in your eyes. And when you kiss me, oh my, the sky falls away, and here I stay. Here I stay.
Almost over.
Wow. I think Jeffrey, were you trying to tell me something?
I was trying to tell you the audio track from another scene was also playing.
Oh, well, but you know what? It was gorgeous. Whatever that was. It was
Well, you could also hear at the beginning of the film that I think when you started playing the beginning of the film, that kept running.
Oh,
And-
okay.
and-
My apologies, but I thought it was all part of it. It looked like it was all part of it. You guys, I do have one, and it sounds like it's still playing too. But I do have one question for you, and that is, who was that composer?
That's Michael and Anne-Marie.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, isn't that beautiful? They did that after, of course, watching the choreography, and we shot it and we sent it to them. She's in New York City, he's in Vegas, and they put that together. It's really beautiful, isn't it? Oh, thank you for that.
Gorgeous, gorgeous.
I'll tell them
Sorry,
that.
you know what? We'll fix it in post, and I'll get it just looking beautiful as you guys had intended. But I think the audience could see just on the live here. That was just amazing. So thank you.
So what I'm hearing, Christopher, is that you had people on the East Coast, people in various places on the West Coast. You had a director who was traveling everywhere to get these shots and such. The creation of this was a multifaceted, multi-locale, sort of a trusting the creative universe project. I mean, Jonathan, if I remember right, up to the last minute of the screening, was editing.
Yes, he was. Oh, God. That was so stressful for him. He was literally in LA and had sent it like minutes before we screened it. I mean, it was crazy. And of course, that version that we did at the screening wasn't the one that we ended up with, which is even more magical and wonderful.
It really is. It keeps evolving.
Yes, absolutely. I know. It's because he's always in LA, like, this could be better. I want to tweak this and like tighten this up. And, you know, he's so instinctual about dance, which is so
I'm
wonderful.
a little instinctual right now too. Sorry. Which is a bad joke. I want to drive home, since educating actors and enlightening folk is what this is all about, is that ensemble group participation. Say yes, and pick the one thing that works the best. Use the positation and be flexible.
I love that, Jeffrey. That's key. That's totally key. Yeah. You know, I don't know, you know, with the younger generation, I sound like an old man, but that sort of sentiment and that way of working, I think, is really what sort of separates, you know, or makes things more heightened, or I don't want to say better or worse, but just into a different level of artistry that I think it's beneficial for the person watching, but also for us that get to work together, because I really think that's the key. And the older I get, the more I want to do things like that. Like you just coming down for the screening, what was that, last month, 2 months ago, with your beautiful wife, and we had the best time. You were just like, of course I'll be there. And I just was like, that's just what it's about, you know, and kindness and, you know, bringing each other up and showing each other's talent, because you're just an amazing guy. And I'm so
thank
grateful.
you. And it's an honor for me. It was an honor for me to have you come on here, wanting to know, you know, where can people find you on social networks or professionally? Yeah.
So I was telling Martin, like, I have all these Instas and, you know, Facebook and stuff. I have my Instagram is 702 Christopher C. That's my personal one, but I put a lot of professional work and things like that on there. I also have Fancy Pants Costume, which is a new costume shop.
And you didn't even talk about that. And you got a new costume shop just in time for Halloween. We didn't even talk about it, but you have a new costume shop in Half Moon Bay, folks. If you ever need an excuse to come down here to the coast side, if you're looking at us in the valley or wherever, all the places that we go to, you got to go to Fancy Pants Costume. All right.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
I do. I have a ton of things. Jeffrey came and saw the shop. I have racks and racks of beautiful, amazing costumes. You know, everything you can imagine.
And what's is there a website or an email just for that, or?
Yeah, fancypantscostume.com.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I got to go check it out. I mean, listen, you know, it's a small kind of a close-knit community around here. I mean, even Pacifica to Half Moon Bay, it's like, you know, you hear about things. And as soon as your shop opened, I had no idea who you were. I put two and two together when Jeffrey told me about you. And I went, I know who that guy is, because you're all the talk. I mean, this is all anybody can talk about in town right now is your shop, sir.
That's amazing. Thank you for that. I didn't realize that it had that much reach, but I appreciate it.
So you can get me made up as like Adam Ant for maybe the, you know, got me.
Anything you want. Okay. Yes.
Jeffrey, what are you going to be? Come on, let's go together, buddy.
The Wasp.
Adam Ant and the Wasp. Got it. Perfect.
Thank you, everyone,
so
for
much.
watching. Thank you, Christopher, so much for being on the show. You're a mensch. And Marty, we'll get that technical stuff figured out, and it's just going to get better and better.
Well, you know what? And actually, I think we're going to look back at it and go, gee, that wasn't that bad after all. But getting you on was really a treat. And all the arrows and pain that we had to suffer to make it happen. We're so glad you did.
It was such a pleasure, guys. Thank you so much for including me. It was an honor. I'm going to be buzzing all night after this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Stay well, stay safe, be compassionate. We'll see you next month.